Hello everyone and welcome in to another edition of the ONIT Spring Sports Show. We had an amazing weekend with lots to catch up on in the softball conference championships and the baseball regular season. So we'll take a look at both of those here in just a sec. But before we do, want to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way you don't miss any of our upcoming videos as we close in on the last events of the 2025-2026 school year with the Women's College World Series and the Men's College World Series coming up in Oklahoma City and Omaha. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any updates on either of those, and you'll be ready to go for next year as well when football kicks back off in the fall. And if you stick around to the end of today's video, we'll let you know how you can get involved with us here on our YouTube channel. You and your ONIT cards can join us right here. We'll tell you how to do that if you make it to the end of today's show. So let's dive right on in and take a look at what is in our Spring Sports Box.
What's in the box?
Our ONIT Spring Sports Box this week features the locally sourced but nationally relevant headlines for all of our ONIT teams as we take a look at our champions of conference tournaments in the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, and the ACC. We'll also take a look at our best performers during making the grade as we see who had the best baseball and softball performances last weekend. And then we'll look ahead to what's coming up in both softball regionals and at the rundown here of the baseball regular season. We'll start off by looking at the two Gem Mint 10s that earned their way into making the grade. This is Making the Grade, where we take a look at the best performers from over the weekend, and boy did we have some incredible stuff, including a historic performance on the softball field. But we're going to start in baseball here and talk about Ben Royo from Texas A&M. What a doubleheader he had against number 20 Ole Miss. Royo, in the first game of the doubleheader, went 3 for 3 with a walk and hit 2 home runs as Texas A&M took down the Rebels, and then followed it up in game number 2, going 4 for 4 and slugging yet another home run to finish his day, going 7 for 7 with 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, 5 runs scored, and earned a base on balls. Texas A&M unfortunately split that doubleheader against the Rebels, but Ben Royo did everything he could to propel the Aggies to a victory in game number 1, and for his perfect day at the plate, he earns himself his Gem Mint 10 grade this week. On the softball diamond, I mentioned we had some history made, and it was done by Megan Grant of UCLA. She earns another Gem Mint 10 this year for setting the new NCAA single season record by hitting her 38th home run of the season. And she did it in the Big Ten championship game on the biggest stage against one of the best pitchers in the country, Jordy Fromm. Grant unloaded over the center field fence for her 38th home run of the season, which surpassed Lauren Espinosa's record that was set back in 1995 when Espinosa hit 37 home runs in 72 games. Grant this year hit her 38th home run in just the 55th game of the season. And now with UCLA heading to a regional, she has the opportunity to add to her total. So we'll see if she can get that done. But for breaking a long-standing NCAA softball record, Megan Grant is our softball Gem Mint 10 this week. Let's now take a look at the best performing teams from last weekend with baseball in their penultimate week of the season and softball playing in conference tournaments. We'll start in baseball in the Big 12. We mentioned that big series between West Virginia and Kansas, and West Virginia got the job done against number 7 Kansas in a big way. They swept the Jayhawks, taking game 1 4-1, game 2 5-2, and game 3 13-2. So never really in danger there for the Mountaineers. Really great stuff. Max Yell had a fantastic opening game on Friday night where he threw a complete game for the Mountaineers, and I think that just really kick-started everything for West Virginia in this series. And the really impressive part for West Virginia is that they did this on the road in Lawrence, and they swept the top 10 Jayhawks to get themselves back in an opportunity to win the Big 12 regular season crown. as they head into their final week of the season, playing another one of our ONIT squads in TCU, who just got one of their best pitchers back in Lepore. So Lepore took the mound last week, had a pretty solid outing. He was limited, of course, coming back from injury, so he only went a couple of innings, but he had electric stuff, and now West Virginia has to go play TCU. They probably need a sweep. It is at home in Morgantown, but if they can get a sweep and they can get some help from BYU, West Virginia will be the Big 12 regular season champions, and it will be because of the work that they put in last weekend to sweep Kansas. So for that reason, that's why they are our baseball team of the week. And on the softball side, we had conference tournaments going on, and I don't think there was anything more impressive than Arizona State's run through the Big 12. They were the underdog in all 3 games that they played, playing against teams that were not only higher seeded than them in the conference tournament, but also higher ranked than them in the polls. They took care of their in-state rival Arizona 2-1 in a squeaker of a game on the first day on Thursday. Then they came back, had to go up against an Oklahoma State team who had the co-Big 12 Pitcher of the Year in Ruby Malin. They took care of number 16th ranked Oklahoma State 11-7, so they were able to plaster some runs. But the most impressive part of this tournament run that they had was the fact that they shut out number 3 Texas Tech in the championship game. Kenzie Brown, unbelievable performance from her in the circle, held the Red Raiders to just 2 hits, shut them out across 7 innings as Arizona State upset Texas Tech and won the Big 12 championship 4-0 on Saturday, securing their automatic qualifier berth and heading to the College Station Regional as the 5 seed, or as one of the 5 seeds in the tournament. So really, really great stuff from Arizona State, especially because they got swept by Texas Tech just a few weeks ago. That was one of our series of the week that we talked about not too long ago, and they were swept by Tech. So the fact that they come back in the championship game and get their revenge on the Red Raiders, they got to Kenna Day and managed to put up 4 runs on her in what was mostly a pitcher's duel of the game between her and Kenzie Brown, and ASU came out on top, earned that AQ, and for that reason they are our softball team of the week going into regionals. And we're going to talk about what is coming up on the regional side in the last week of baseball here. This is a very important weekend for a lot of our teams. Of course, for our softball teams, all of those who made a regional are trying to advance to a super regional. Their season could come to an end depending on their results over this weekend. While on the baseball side, this is the final week of the regular season, and seeding and placement and hosting opportunities for regionals are all on the line, especially going into your conference tournaments, which begin in the middle of next week. So let's start on the baseball side because we have a big matchup in the SEC. It feels like we've said that every single week, but this one is pretty huge. We have the number 10 ranked Texas A&M Aggies hosting the 13th ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs as Ace Reese is coming to town. And this should be a very interesting series in College Station. A&M has now lost 2 SEC series in a row. They lost to Auburn, who is catapulting up the ranks, and they have a big series this weekend against Georgia. That's a 5-4 matchup there between those 2 teams in the SEC. But A&M has also lost a series to Ole Miss last weekend. They dropped 2 games, the first game and then the third game of the series after they split a doubleheader on Saturday and lost originally on Friday night. So that is 2 series lost for A&M, who going into that Auburn series had won the most series in a row in the SEC. They had won 5 straight and now have lost 2 in a row. So this is a really important opportunity for them to bounce back. They are top 10 in the country. Regardless of what happens here, I don't think that they would be out of a regional spot, but if they get swept here and then they have a poor showing in the SEC conference tournament, I think that is where the danger could lie for Texas A&M. Do I anticipate them getting swept? No, I think they have a lot of talent. Chris Hakopian, Caden Sorrell, Gavin Grahovac, lots of players that have made big impacts for A&M this year. I mean, Ben Royo is coming on really strong. We saw what he did against Ole Miss in that doubleheader, so he'll have a lot of confidence going into this series. So I don't think Texas A&M will get swept, but it definitely can happen, so that's something they have to worry about. While Mississippi State is coming in off the back of a series against Auburn, They took the first game in dramatic fashion, 10-3, really took it to Auburn in that game, but then lost 4-5 in a close one in game number 2 when they had an opportunity to steal that series away. It was at home in Starkville for the Bulldogs, and then they lost 13-2 in 7 innings against Auburn in game number 3. So they weren't able to snag the series there against the Tigers, and now they go on the road to finish out their regular season against a top 10 ranked Texas A&M team. I think for the Bulldogs too, this is a big opportunity. They're 13th in the country right now, according to D1 Baseball. Series victory here, a couple wins in the SEC tournament, and you probably get to host a regional, I would think. If they win this series, I think their regional hosting is secured. So this is a really big series for both of these teams. Neither of them have the opportunity to actually win the SEC regular season title. Georgia is just too far ahead of them. But they have the opportunity to secure a regional and potentially boost their stock to where they could host a super regional as well. So very, very important series here in the SEC. And of course, in softball, we have regionals starting. Regional hosts have been selected. And here at ONIT, we had 14 teams make the field representing for us, including 12 that are hosting regionals. The 2 teams that we did not have make the field were Auburn and Ohio State. And the 2 teams that are not hosting regionals are Arizona State, who's headed to the College Station Regional, hosted by Texas A&M, and South Carolina, who's headed to the Los Angeles Regional, which is hosted by UCLA. But when we look at our teams that got into regionals, Oklahoma hosting the Norman Regional, Nebraska in Lincoln, Texas Tech is the 3 seed in Lubbock, Arkansas a 2 seed in Fayetteville, Texas hosting in Austin, Tennessee a 2 seed hosting in Knoxville, Florida State, a 3 seed hosting in Tallahassee. Florida hosting in Gainesville as a 2 seed. Georgia, whose cards are on the way, hosting in Athens. And then Oklahoma State hosting in Stillwater as a 4 seed, along with UCLA and Texas A&M that I mentioned. So the 2 regionals we're really going to focus on here, because we will potentially have ONIT versus ONIT matchups, is Los Angeles and College Station. So let's start on the West Coast. UCLA, Megan Grant just broke the single season home run record, as we talked about. Her and Jordan Woolery have been amazing all year. So has Taylor Tinsley inside the circle for the Bruins. And they get an opportunity against a South Carolina team that has come on really strong. Only one of these teams, of course, can advance to a super regional. UCLA getting that last 2 seed means that if they win their regional, they will host again in LA for a super. So that is really important for them. They came in just 1 spot ahead of the Florida State team that beat them earlier on in the year. So UCLA getting the benefit of the doubt there for their tough Big Ten schedule. And with UCLA hosting, they will have the advantage against South Carolina flying all the way across the country. We'll more than likely see those 2 match up in the championship of this regional. And the home field advantage might be too much for South Carolina. But they're very battle-tested. SEC, easily the best conference of the year, I would say, with Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, all hanging around the top 5 for a majority of the year, if not in the number 1 spot entirely. So that's what we have going on in the Los Angeles Regional. In the College Station Regional, this is the closest matchup between ONIT teams. And we saw what Arizona State did against Texas Tech and their run through the Big 12 championship that we just talked about a little bit ago. While Texas A&M has ended their season playing pretty decently, they almost stole the SEC crown, or knocked Oklahoma off their perch of winning the SEC title in that series that they had to finish out the regular season, but weren't able to get it done. So A&M will definitely have confidence knowing that they were able to beat one of the best teams in the country. And then, of course, what happened in the SEC tournament with Oklahoma losing and Alabama getting the number 1 overall seed in the regional bracket here. So being the number 1 seed in the postseason. I think Texas A&M will have a lot of confidence, but so will Arizona State. We'll got to see if ASU has peaked too early here. I think that's really the only question for them, but they're heading into this College Station Regional. It's a 4 in Texas A&M and a 5 seed in Arizona State, which should be a lot of fun. Again, anticipating them to match up in the championship of this regional. And if either of them win, they do not have the opportunity to host. Of course, A&M is the host, but they do not have the opportunity to host a super regional as a 4 seed. So regardless, one of these two teams will likely come out of College Station as a regional champion, and then they will be on the road next week in a super regional. I'm really hoping that we get a matchup between them because I would love to see it. Big 12 was really solid this year, but I think Texas A&M in that SEC has been more battle tested. So we'll just find out if Arizona State has what it takes. And if Kenzie Brown can be phenomenal in the circle yet again, I think Arizona State could steal this regional away. So those are our two regionals that we're focusing on. But as super regionals come about, we should have plenty more teams to talk about. We have a ton of seeds here who are going in against either unseeded opponents or lower seeds. So anticipating that a lot of our ONIT teams advance to super regionals after this week, but that's why they play the game. Anything can happen. So we'll find out more after this weekend, but really dialed in Los Angeles and College Station there since we have 4 ONIT teams split across those 2 regionals. That's all the time we have today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, everybody, as we get into the postseason here for college softball and we approach it for baseball. Of course, conference tournaments coming next week for baseball. We'll know more about our super regional participants next weekend in softball as well. So very important week across both sports right here. And we're coming to the end of the academic year and the sporting season. So we've only got a little bit more than a month left until the College World Series for baseball wraps up in Omaha, and softball has less than a month left in their season already. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We'll take you through the end of the year, and we'll get you ready for football season coming up here in 2026 as well. Yes, don't think we forgot about that. Over the summer, we'll still be bringing you content, and we'll be getting ready for our ONIT football releases and getting ready for week 0 kickoff. So hang around by hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you don't miss a video by hitting the bell as well. That way you get notified when we post new content. If you've made it this far and want to be a part of one of our future videos, all you got to do is head to the link down below. You can submit your best polls from any of your softball, baseball, winter sports, or football boxes. We'll share them right here on the channel and get the community involved here, because here at ONIT, we're all about community and connecting fans and athletes through collectibles. So do that if you want to be featured here on the channel. Otherwise, we will see you next week with plenty more updates, conference tournaments, super regionals, and more. So should be a lot of fun. Thank you all for sticking around. We'll see you next week, and happy ripping, everyone.